muy malo. Roto el pato de vestuario. La interpretación siempre negativa. Siempre negativa. Nunca positiva.
Hello, welcome to Siempre Positivo after Barcelona beat Girona 4-1 on Sunday to maintain their 3-point lead at the top of LaLiga with just 9 games to go. I'm Sam Marsden, joined by Rik Sharma and Tony Juan Marti. Rik, how you doing?
Not too bad, busy day, but getting into it.
Tony, ¿qué tal?
Good morning, good afternoon. Fine. Good mood, good weather in Barcelona. I would say just I feel free after telling my newspaper that I will leave at the end of the season. So I'm happy and relaxed. What about you?
Is that breaking news? Has that been revealed anywhere yet?
Well, I wouldn't consider my future as something interesting for no one, but for me, yes, because it's a long period wanting to do a step to the side, even if some people were telling me, no, because you are always connected, you seem to enjoy, and it was not like this. It's just that while I was there, I wanted to try to get updates or news. But yes, it's over. So the May 31st, 31, last day as a journalist.
This is a Siempre Positivo exclusive. Rik, Tony downplays it there, but you can imagine this being reported by, I don't know, Barça Times or Universal Barça or whatever, can't you?
Terrible aggregators. Yeah, I can see it. But it's a never-ending saga. Tony left sport, joined Relevo, left Relevo, joined sport.
Now is the good one. Trust
now
me.
Where?
It's not considering any other media. I think I'm done for this kind of work.
Siempre Pod full time.
Well, we will discuss about it if there is fair play. I will have to discuss it with the board, with Mr. Martin and Mr. Sharma.
Tony, I've read there's been movement from Mundo Deportivo. Any comment?
Well, at this point, I think we have to stay focused on this podcast until the end of the season, and we will go pod by pod.
Okay, let's get into it. The smart. We've had this conversation before. Obviously, eagle-eyed. What did we come up with for eared? Owl-eared. Was there another one?
Batted. Is it bat?
The intelligent people will have noticed it's Tuesday instead of Monday because Rik and Tony can't pull themselves together on a Monday when I'm not here. It seems.
I mean, I think just Tony can't pull himself together. Basically, is that?
Yeah. Not possible.
I was back in the UK over the weekend, and yeah, I missed the game, as in I wasn't at the stadium on Sunday for Barcelona's win against Girona. I did follow it on television, so we'll cross over to Rik for a deeper analysis. But a 4-1 win for Barca, a world away from last season's games against Girona, both in terms of Barca and Girona, of course, who were having very different seasons to what they both had last season. Barca took the lead in the first half, an own goal, Ladislav Krejci turning in Lamine Yamal's free kick. They did briefly level Girona against the run of play, Danjuma in the second half, but Barca pulled away late on. Robert Lewandowski with a brace to extend his lead or to maintain his lead over Kylian Mbappe in the Pichichi by 3 goals, and then a fourth from Ferran Torres. There could have been a fifth or a sixth if Lamine Yamal didn't thump the woodwork, if Alejandro Balde didn't miss chances, if they had passed or if other players had passed on the break. But it ended 4-1. Barca maintaining their 3-point lead over Real Madrid, who had beaten Leganés, coming from behind to win 3-2 a day previously. Rik, considering the changes Barca made, lots of rotations on the back of that Osasuna game, on the back of the international break, perhaps also with the Copa del Rey semi-final against Atlético Madrid on Wednesday in mind, it was a pretty perfect afternoon from my viewpoint in England, up the hill in Montjuic.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say at the end of the afternoon. When you look at the score, when you look at the players that managed to get a bit of rest and so on, perfect. During the game, it didn't quite have that feel in the first half, especially as Barca found it quite hard going to do anything really. I mean, Lamine Yamal and Koundé were the sort of the most attacking players on the right flank, because the left flank had Gerard Martin and Gavi on the left, and they really put nothing together down that side. It was all down the right. And Barca found it tough to break down Girona for a while, but once they got through, of course, like you say, Arnat Danjuma scored in the second half, but then after that, Barca ran riot, and by the end, it did feel very satisfactory. And I mean, there's an amazing stat that you sent me. I think it's an amazing stat. This was the 20th time this season Barca have scored 4 goals or more in a game out of 45 games. I think, to me, that's a mind-blowing statistic.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any sort of comparison, if it can be compared. I know we've spoken about the goals in the season and the goals that Barca scored in the MSN season, etc. I don't know what the current rate is, but I know when Toni had the numbers last time, they were sort of above that sort of rate. That's probably the last Barca. I mean, Barca are probably the only team that have these seasons where they score. I don't know if that's sort of short-sighted me to say that. I guess you maybe Bayern Munich or PSG have had those seasons in their respective countries, but where they score 3, 4, because that's above 4 as well. Think about the amount of times they've scored 3 as well. If you went 3 and above, it would probably add on a fair few more games out of those 45.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I don't have the numbers, but I think it's like Barca has scored 4 or more goals in 20 games.
Yeah.
I think the total of games that Barca has played this season is 29 plus 2 of Super Cup.
it's 45. I said the stats. Yeah.
Okay, 45. Sorry. So yeah, it's almost 40% of the games scoring 4 goals or more. When you compare it with last season, you were only able to score 3 or more goals, I would say, in 25% of the games. So whoa, the data is amazing and reflects and shows perfectly that Hansi Flick understands this game. A game of how do you say, the golpes, un juego de golpes. Now I knock, now you knock, like un intercambio de golpes.
Yeah, back and forward, back and forth.
Yeah. It's incredible.
They're actually on course. I mean, I was just doing an Ancelotti profile before we started recording, and I was fondly remembering his season at Chelsea in 2010 when Chelsea scored 103 goals, became the first Premier League club to score 103 goals, which was later beaten by Man City, who scored 106 goals in a season. But I just worked out that if Barca keep scoring at the same rate in La Liga, they're on course to score 107 goals if they maintain it.
Yeah, it's crazy numbers. I was just trying to look in an old piece I did at the start of the year. I thought I had the stats from how many they had, 3 or 4. So maybe I'll come back to you on that in a minute. Tony, just on what we touched on as well. This was a Barca side that I would argue probably the one anomaly on this list is Gavi, who perhaps, him and Olmo have been sort of in and out and changing at different points of the season. But Gavi, Fermin Lopez, Gerard Martin, Ronald Araujo and Eric Garcia, who made his 100th appearance for Barca, playing as the deepest midfielder, all started the game. That's basically half the team, which isn't Barca's first choice team. Which ones of those players impressed you, or was there something else about the game that you thought was particularly good against Girona?
Well, it's a good question, because for me, I think it's 100% clear that in the position of number 10, Fermin is much better than Gavi, in my opinion. Let's see if Gavi will be starter against Atlético de Madrid. I took a look, and he has not played 3 games in a row as a starter, Gavi, since he has been back. So I have some doubts whether he will be starter or will be Fermin in the number 10 or even Ferran. Let's see. I don't think Gavi played a great game, to be honest. I'm not really in love with the performance that he's giving, and I think Fermin played a really great game against Girona. He was not really in a good level against Osasuna, despite of his great assist to Lewandowski, but he played really well for me. So I was impressed by Balde again.
When he came on?
Pedri, Frankie de Jong, especially if I have to pick one name when he came, probably would say Frankie de Jong in the second half, and again Ferran Torres. Now Hansi Flick has the squad where he wants, with everybody battling and pushing and fighting to play and to have more minutes. So it's like a car that goes alone without a driver, because he doesn't need almost to do nothing. So the situation is so perfect right now for Flick.
Yeah, I mean, on the goal number, coming back to the goals, they are crazy. Lewandowski's brace, he now has 38 goals in 42 games. It's more goals than he's scored in both his previous seasons. I mean, he passed those marks quite a while ago, what he scored in the first and second season. And like you say, Ferran Torres has 15 goals, 9 in 9 in La Liga, more from open play in La Liga than Vinicius. The stats are crazy. Rick, where are we at with Lewandowski right now? He's obviously been quite a talking point throughout the season because he has been scoring. He dipped a little bit. People are talking about perhaps he is peaking now at the business end of the season. He's obviously 37 in August. He spoke about wanting to play at the top level for a few years. He doesn't look like he's suffered physically. There have been games when, his touch is off, but physically and, sharpness doesn't look much different now than when he joined the club, if at all, does he?
No, not hugely. I think he has reduced a little bit, as you'd expect for someone who's 36 years old. But, I mean, his game was never based on being explosively fast or hugely strong. So he still looks in good shape. And it's fascinating, the Pichichi race with him and Mbappe. We were talking maybe on the pod, actually, when we were walking down the hill in Montjuic, or maybe it was just before we started recording, about that sort of battle between them. And the fact that, Mbappe then scores 2 goals on Saturday, so Lewandowski comes and does the same on Sunday to stay 3 goals ahead of him in the Pichichi race. And I think certainly the amount that Ferran Torres has been playing and is going to be playing in the next few weeks is helpful for Lewandowski. I mean, I think Flick kind of alluded to it after the game when he was speaking about him, and a couple of times recently when he's spoken about him, is that maybe he suggested that in the past Lewandowski hasn't been very team focused. That's what I read into what he's saying now, which is what he's most pleased about with Lewandowski is how now he sees that what's important for the team, and the fact that if he does what's best for the team will score more goals, and then he'll, as a result, score more goals, even if he's not playing all the minutes that he would like or would have liked. Certainly at the start of the season, it's been quite hard sometimes to see Lewandowski see the idea that he would be accepting to sit out or to be subbed off or to not even start games. But maybe he's starting to see now, as Flick says, that actually if Ferran Torres plays 70 minutes and then Lewandowski comes on for 20 minutes, like he did against Osasuna, for example, he might actually have more of a chance of scoring those goals, having that impact off the bench, and while the opposition defence is either tired or out of place if they're trying to equalise or fight back.
It's going to be a real battle we were speaking about the Pichichi. Yeah, I said it's probably going to take 30 plus goals to win it this season, which is sort of getting back to decent levels after a couple of dodgy Pichichi battles. I mean, even when Lewandowski won it in his first season, I think it was with 23-24. It was similar last year with Dovbyk and
Sorloth.
I think it was Dovbyk's penalties that pushed him over the edge on it in terms of winning it. So we'll see. 9 games to go, 25 v 22 in Lewandowski's favour at the moment.
It was before we started recording. I think we were talking about it, so people won't have heard this. But we were saying about how Lewandowski seemed to be scoring just 1 goal. Like he's scored 1 goal for like 8 games in a row or something in the league. And Mbappe is more capable of scoring 2, 3 or 4 goals. But then Lewandowski shuts our mouths with a brace against Girona, and it could have been more, as you mentioned, with some of those attacks late on. He certainly felt it could have been more, Lewandowski. Could
have been a hat-trick, yeah.
I said on the Discord, I've never seen Lewandowski sprint so fast in one of those moments towards the end of the game when Barca broke and there was loads of space. He absolutely caned it down into the box, but he didn't get the ball that he wanted.
Yeah, shout out to the fitness staff as well, getting him in great shape. Tony, on Lamine Yamal, another great performance from him, not in terms of goals and assists. I mean, his free kick did lead to the first goal. He hit the bar, but just, the back-heeled pass to Koundé, that run in the first half when he beat 3 players and the shot was straight at the keeper, etc. Just another great performance. But also another 90 minutes on the back of 90 minutes against Osasuna, on the back of almost, it was 120 minutes for Spain, etc. Does he need to rest? Is he going to rest? Obviously, Rafinha's missed these last 2 games. Barça have Atletico coming up, Real Betis on Saturday. I mean, the numbers and the data are obviously there. As Flick points out, he picks the team based on that for him to keep playing. But is it a situation to keep an eye on in terms of, even if the numbers are there, based on the history of what we've seen with some other youngsters?
I asked about it to some sources in the club, and what they told me is that we shouldn't think about Lamine Yamal like other players, because normally his efforts are like 30% of other players like Balde or Pedri or defenders. Because if you take a look on the way Lamine plays at the end, he's only like attacking with the ball, okay, and then a little bit defending, but Barcelona has the ball possession, is pressing high, so he has not almost to go to run back. So at the end, and normally when you are winning and you are 2-0, 3-0 on the second half, he's always almost walking as Lionel Messi did. So he's how do you say se regula.
Regulates, or he sort of
Yeah, he regulates himself in terms of energy, so he doesn't need a rest. And it's true that he played 120 minutes with Spain and then both games. But honestly, I don't imagine him having a rest against Atletico.
No.
And I don't imagine him having a rest against Betis. To be honest, this is my feeling. It's true that he has played a lot, but I think Flick is doing a little bit like the same policy of Politica. Is policy or politic?
Policy, probably better. Yeah, carry on.
The same policy of Guardiola with Lionel Messi. The more he plays, the better for all of us, and I think he's following his steps. So I imagine Lamine starter against Atletico. And I would probably say that I still imagine Lamine starter against Betis, even if there I see a little bit more of doubt. Even if you didn't ask me about it, yes, I have a bit more of doubts regarding Robert Lewandowski against Atletico, because I think he could start.
Well, no, I spoke to Rick about this the other day, and there was a comment from Flick, I think, after the first leg against Atletico when Lewandowski was on the bench as well, when he said Ferran Torres deserves to be the Copa striker, and it almost feels like a little bit like he set the precedent for that now, and Ferran Torres will start as the striker against Atletico on Wednesday in the semi-final.
Could be, because if you take a look on the Copa del Rey games, Lewandowski has only been starter on one. And it's funny because it was the easiest game, I think, against Barbastro he was a starter. So I don't have any input, but right now I would say that there are real chances that Lewandowski could start tomorrow in the bench.
Yeah, I think so. And Rafinha, how's he doing?
And Rafinha, I think he will be starter. He was back from Argentina, being very tired. Also, he had a knock on his hand, after the defeat. I
thought the bandage on the hand was just an accessory now for players.
No, in this case it was something else. It's easy to imagine, when you're angry sometimes with a defeat. Okay, and I think that he will be starter, Rafinha, yes. And another thing that I want to comment, even if it's only self promo, remember that we talked about Íñigo, and he was totally fit to play against Osasuna, even if from the club they were leaking that it was going to be 2 or 3 weeks out. It's funny because it's confirmed he didn't want to go with the national team.
Like with Szczesny, the stuff promo never ends.
Yeah, well, you spoke about that a little bit after the Osasuna game, right, Rick, and the situation with Osasuna and Íñigo?
Yeah. We talked about it, and the fact that it won't be a trouble for Barca.
Maybe it's time for Rick to talk about Szczesny or Ferran Torres. Sam, you could ask him about Szczesny and Ferran Torres' performance to Rick.
Rick, Szczesny and Ferran Torres' performance.
Well, nothing really on Szczesny. Didn't have to do anything in this one. Ferran Torres, good. He's been good every time he's played lately, as a starter or off the bench, which is perfect for Barca heading into the season. As I said with Lewandowski, it makes his life easier, even if he didn't at first appreciate it, but now he does. And if Ferran can maintain this form until the end of the season, it puts Barca in a great position, because you need that 12th man, or 13th man, maybe, depending on how you see sort of Gavi and Olmo and all that when Olmo is back. You need those players to be at the level as everyone else is in a team that can win a potential treble. And currently he is. Yeah,
and Szczesny, 19 games unbeaten in the Barcelona goal, never tasted defeat. Barcelona now 20 games unbeaten in 2025, 9 straight wins in LaLiga. Rick, how does all that equate into the ratings from Barcelona's 4-1 win against Girona?
Wojtek Szczesny, 6 out of 10 in this one. Slightly, just after we praised him with his feet against Osasuna for that sort of dribble you mentioned. He had a dodgy pass early on in this one, but not too much to comment otherwise. Didn't really have any chance with the goal, and yeah, no.
Don't worry, it's all fine. We all know that with Chesney, ratings are from 1 to 6. Just to clarify for our listeners.
How many saves did Chesney make in this game?
No, I'm just I'm trying to share info with our listeners to let them know which is the ratings possible between 1 and 6.
It's okay. I trust our listeners to make their own judgments about who's making sense here. Jules Koundé, 7 out of 10. Maybe it's a bit harsh because he was quite dynamic going forward, but 7.5 we'll give Jules Koundé. Araujo 7, Inigo 7, Gerard Martin 6.5. Nothing wrong per se, but just didn't help at all in attack. Eric Garcia, I'm kind of want to give 7s across the board here. It's not very original ratings for me, but it was kind of mostly a 7 out of 10 performance from everyone. They were a bit slow in the first half, quite good in the second half. 7. Pedri will give 7.5. Lamine Yamal 8. Liked his performance. Fermin 7.5. Gavi, I agree with Tony. Not the best game of Gavi. I quite liked him against Osasuna, but not in this game. I'll give him a 6. Lewandowski, I'll give him an 8. A couple of goals, and then off the bench, I agree. Frankie was good. I'll give Frankie 7.5. Although actually, as I mentioned to Sam, who didn't like it, as he's a Frankie ultra. He did great for the goal he set up, Frankie. But then to Lewandowski. But then he overcooked his pass, and Lewandowski actually had to turn back inside to shoot. So Frankie's kind of lucky that Lewandowski was able to do that and score, because he got the pass wrong at the end. Ferran Torres can have an 8 off the bench. Balde, I mean, great sprints down the middle, but as someone said in the Discord, he looked like he'd put a bet on to score in this game or something because of the way he was attacking, almost needlessly. But yeah.
So yeah, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, it maintains Barcelona's 3-point lead over Real Madrid, who also won at the weekend. But there was more news in the title races. A flagging Atletico were held 1-1 by Espanyol on Saturday. A game you were at, Rick. They're now 9 points behind Barcelona. We've spoken a lot about them sort of falling out of the title race in recent weeks. They're now winless in 3 in LaLiga. Are they gone? Yeah.
I mean, as I said to Tony on the Thursday pod before the game, it felt like they were on the absolute ropes at that point. Like, to be honest, they were out. Tony said 5% chance of winning the league. I agreed, about 5%, and now it's down to 0.1%. I think they're cooked.
Tony, Atletico gone, cooked. I listened to the radio last week. I can't remember which show it was. Apologies. One of the Spanish stations, and they were talking about Atletico, and they were speaking to the Atletico journalists, and they said the belief within the Atletico camp with 10 games to go was not that they were going to win the league, but to win the league, they had to win 9 games and draw 1. And with that, they believed they would win the league. Obviously, they don't have to play Barça or Real Madrid, so it's not a completely ridiculous situation. Obviously, they went on that long-running one earlier in the season. That's their one draw now. So it would have to be 9 straight wins. And even that may not be enough from 9 points, because you need Barça to drop points in... they need to drop 9 points or 10 points, because they've got the head-to-head, haven't they, after the 4-2 and the 2-1. You giving them any chance at all, Atletico, Tony?
Out. Totally out. And let's see if this is not the end of Diego Simeone in Atlético de Madrid. Depending on how is the last games, how are the last games of Simeone in the bench. The season, the whole season will be in game for them against Barça, but big percentage of big fail of Atletico this season, and it was totally unexpected because they were going really well.
Yeah. The Simeone situation is strange. Every now and again it surfaces. I don't know if they would be better off with him or without him. It's one of those big risks. Even obviously you can look at the squad. I mean, this is the first season with some of those players. You kind of think it would be harsh to get rid of him now. I don't know what your thoughts are, Rick. Obviously, when you see these players that have been at clubs for so long ago, there's usually a transition period afterwards. There's no guarantees with any new manager. I think, one season with Alvarez. I guess that's the main thing. A lot of, one season with Lenormand. Is it the start of something as opposed to the end of something? It'd be risky to cut ties with Simeone, wouldn't it?
Yeah, risky. But I mean, ultimately, in the last decade, he's won 1 league title. Obviously, he won the other one in 2014. But in after this season, in the last 10 seasons, he will have won just one trophy. No Coppers, no Champions Leagues, obviously getting to the final a couple of times. And he's the best paid coach in world football. I can understand from an Atletico perspective why they might like to, or why they have started thinking about going elsewhere and trying something else. Because despite how they like to call themselves massive underdogs and so on, they've spent so much money and they've got a lot of great players. And I think that Simeone has been brilliant for them. He's an absolute club legend. But I can see arguments for why trying another coach might be a good idea.
But what should the bar be at Atletico? Because Atletico can never be... Can they demand to win La Liga in the Champions League? Can they ever consider themselves above Barca or Madrid in either of those competitions?
I don't think that... I don't think so. But I don't think they've done enough. I don't think they've really competed for La Liga beyond the year they won it. In any of the seasons, really. Since 2014 when they won it last. I don't think it's come down to the wire with Atletico being involved. I think they should be in the fight.
Mean when they won it in the COVID year?
Yeah. Apart from that season, they haven't been in like a serious title fight.
Yeah. Well, the year after COVID, wasn't it? Yeah, Madrid won the actual COVID year, and then the year because that was also the COVID year without fans. Yeah, let's see what happens with Atletico. A large part of their season, perhaps, like you say, runs through Wednesday night's second leg against Barca, and if to get to a Copa del Rey final, if they beat Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey final, perhaps that can save their season. Just to finish though. Some interesting news in Barcelona this week. Marc-Andre ter Stegen back in training. It poses, or does it? I guess the question is, does it pose some interesting questions, Tony? How soon do we think ter Stegen could be available, and what does it mean for the goalkeeping situation? We've just come through the Chesney-Peña situation. Peña's been seen off, and now we're potentially going to end the season with Marc-Andre ter Stegen sort of pushing for his place back.
Well, in my opinion, we also wrote about that ter Stegen's recovery is going much better than expected. I said a couple of months ago that he was expected to be back in May. In my opinion, these tempos are going to be the right ones. He made part of the training with the group, and likely that in 3 weeks he could do a step more and join the group. So in terms of competing, he won't be ready before beginning of May. And I think the point is clear. In my opinion, despite his camp is very optimistic, I think that no way Barca will unregister Wojtek Szczesny to register ter Stegen in the Champions League. Let's make it clear. If ter Stegen enters into the squad to play Champions League game, Szczesny has to be unregistered. I don't think this is going to happen. And as long as La Liga is not decided, for me it's still very complicated to see Marc-Andre ter Stegen playing this season. But with this, I wouldn't say 100%. So, for me, no chance for ter Stegen to play Champions League this season. Okay, maximum in case Barca reaches the final of Champions League, I will keep some low percentage because Courtois did it with Lunin in Real Madrid. So I wouldn't rule out it 100%. Even for me, it's not going to happen that ter Stegen plays on the final. Okay, let's give it 10%. But not earlier. So I don't expect at all ter Stegen to play quarter-final or semi-finals. And in La Liga, only if Barca gets to manage like a bigger gap between Barca and Madrid, we could see ter Stegen. This is my opinion, but let's see what happens. I don't know, what do you think?
Even the Champions League situation is not crystal clear. We're speaking with people at UEFA this morning. Obviously, the rule is once the injured, or in theory, Szczesny was registered to replace ter Stegen in the Champions League back in October. And the rule is once the injured or ill goalkeeper is fit to be fielded again, he can resume his position in place of his substitute. The return of the original goalkeeper must be announced to the UEFA administration 24 hours before the next match. So that would suggest that, like you say, Barca could unregister Szczesny to re-register ter Stegen. But in practice, it's not quite clear, speaking to UEFA and their legal department are looking into it, whether Szczesny is still registered as a replacement or when Barca did the updated squads in January, whether he's now registered for the second half of the season. It's not clear yet, so they're just looking to confirm that. But yeah, I think the whole situation, I think it's best, like you say, it feels risky when Szczesny's doing so well. And I know Madrid did it with Lunin and Courtois, and we're nowhere near there yet, so it's all very, very hypothetical, but it feels like, the problem for me is not what Barca do, it's just managing the situation. I don't know if you know what I mean, Rick, in terms of like, if you've got Ter Stegen back in training now, he's obviously going to be desperate to play. Barca, he's obviously the captain, he's been the goalkeeper for a number of years, and he's going to be pushing to play, and Barca need to sort of manage the situation as best as possible without disrupting it's a great... One thing we hear from the players and from Flick, and which I do agree with, and you do see at this stage of the season, is how good and tight the group is without that becoming a problem. Do you think it could become a problem, or do you think Ter Stegen will be accepting of the fact that, look, he's been injured, he's not at match rhythm, and Chesney has done well and deserves to sort of not rock the boat in that sense?
Yeah, I don't think Ter Stegen will personally, in his head, think anything other than that once he's fit, he deserves to play and get back in goal. That's natural for him, for a player of his sort of caliber over the years and status at one of the world's biggest clubs. That's how these players get into these positions, because they have that sort of mindset. But I also don't think it will become a huge problem. I mean, the fact that Chesney has in the last 2 months made very, very, very few mistakes, has kept the clean sheets that he has, and Barca haven't lost. They're unbeaten in 2025 in 20 games. I think because of that, it's quite easy for Flick to just maintain the status quo and keep Chesney in goal, even if Ter Stegen is fit and maybe plays 1 or 2 league games. Yeah.
Sets up an interesting battle next season anyway, with Chesney likely to extend his contract. Pena will probably leave, and we'll see those two battling for the gloves. That's all we've got time for today. Tony's shooting off to Hansi Flick. I'm just going to watch it on TV and get this podcast out for your ears. Tomorrow night, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey semi-final, second leg. 4-4 from the first leg. Should be another cracker. In the meantime, stay positive.